Have you ever felt that one day a woman looks at you with admiration, desire, and softness in her eyes, and then, almost without warning, the light goes out and you can feel it deep down? She just does not respect you anymore. But you cannot pinpoint the exact second when everything changed. You replay conversations in your head. You analyze the messages. You overthink every detail. You ask yourself, what did I do wrong? And the worst part is that you do not find a clear answer. You just feel that something in you collapsed, and something in her quietly switched off. That invisible switch, that subtle but brutal turning point, is what we are going to expose today in detail. Because there is an exact psychological moment when a woman stops respecting you, and once you understand it, you will never look at your own behavior the same way again. Stay with me, because as you listen carefully, you are going to recognize patterns you have lived before. You will understand why she started talking to you with a different tone, why her eyes stopped lighting up when you entered the room, why she began taking longer to respond, or suddenly stopped making you a priority. And more important than that, you are going to see how to prevent this from happening again, not from a place of manipulation, but from a place of deep masculine self-respect and emotional strength. This is not about tricks. This is about you becoming the kind of man that naturally commands respect without asking for it. Because your attitude, your boundaries, and your presence communicate something very clear. I respect myself too much to betray who I am, just to keep someone temporarily happy. Let's start from the basic truth that almost no one tells you clearly. In romantic and sexual dynamics, respect is oxygen. Attraction can spark fast. Chemistry can be intense. Affection can be real. But if respect disappears, everything else starts to suffocate. A woman can still feel some kind of attachment to you. She can even still feel a bit of desire. But if at her core she does not respect you, her behavior will be unstable, cold, condescending, or passive-aggressive, and you will feel small next to her. That is why it is not enough to ask, does she like me? The real question is, does she respect me? Because when a woman respects you, she thinks twice before talking to you in a certain way, before crossing certain lines, before taking you for granted. When she does not, it is open season on your dignity, and she will test how far she can push without consequences. Now, what does respect actually mean in this context? It is not fear. It is not that she feels intimidated by you. Respect in male-female dynamics means that she sees you as a man with an inner center that is not for sale. It means she can feel that your decisions come from a place of grounded clarity, not from desperate need for her approval. She believes your yes means yes, and your no means no. She feels that you are emotionally stable enough to handle conflict without collapsing. She intuitively senses that if she crosses certain lines, if she disrespects you repeatedly, you will not argue for hours. You will simply be gone. Respect is the feeling she has in her nervous system that says, this man is not here begging for me. He is here because he chooses to be. And if I play games with him, I can lose him. Unfortunately, most men were never educated in this reality. You were told, be nice, be understanding, never upset her, always be available, always fix her problems, always prove how much you care. You were basically told to train your nervous system to be a pleaser. But here is the paradox. When your whole strategy with women is based on avoiding their discomfort at any cost, you end up creating the exact conditions for them to lose respect for you. A man who is terrified of a woman being upset with him is a man who will eventually bend his standards, betray his word, and sacrifice his dignity just to restore harmony in the short term. And that, deep down, is the moment her respect for you starts to die. Listen carefully. The exact moment she stops respecting you is not when she gets angry, not when she tests you, not when she disagrees with you. The exact moment she stops respecting you is the moment you betray your own center to keep her comfortable. The moment when you go against what you know is right for you just to avoid her negative reaction. That is the instant. That is the silent fracture. She may not even be fully conscious of it, but her body registers it. Her attraction feels different. Her trust in your leadership gets damaged. And from that point on, everything she does with you will be filtered through that new perception. He is willing to abandon himself to keep me happy. I cannot fully trust him as a man. Let's make this real for you, not with stories, but with patterns. Think about moments when you said you would do something, and then you changed your decision, the moment she showed a bit of displeasure. Maybe you had planned to work on your goals, rest, or spend time with your friends, and she got annoyed, and you immediately canceled your plans to avoid drama. In your head you told yourself, I am just being flexible. I am just being loving. But at a deeper level, you trained her nervous system to know that your plans, your priorities, and your word are negotiable if she shows enough negative emotion. You trained her to know that your center can be moved easily if she is uncomfortable. In that subtle instant, Without realizing, you turned her emotions into a remote control that operates you. No woman truly respects a man who can be controlled that easily. The same thing happens when you accept disrespectful behavior without consequence. You minimize it. You tell yourself, "It is not a big deal. I do not want to exaggerate. Maybe I am too sensitive." You try to convince yourself that ignoring it means you are being mature. But ignoring constant disrespect is not maturity. It is self-abandonment. Every time you let it pass, your self-respect shrinks a little more. And here is the key. Women are extremely sensitive to that shrinkage in your energy. They may not know the exact words for it, but they feel that something in you is becoming smaller. Your eyes change. Your posture changes. Your tone of voice becomes more insecure. You become more reactive or more passive. And she reads that as weakness, not as kindness. There is another common moment when respect collapses. When you start over-explaining and justifying yourself excessively, especially when you have not done anything wrong. Pay attention to this. A man who respects himself does not live on trial. He does not present 10 paragraphs of defense for every opinion or decision he has. He explains himself once, calmly and clearly. He can listen to her feelings, but he does not turn every difference into a courtroom, where he has to prove that he is not a monster. When you start apologizing for your needs, your standards, your boundaries, she feels that you put her emotions above your own truth. Again, you think you are being loving, but what you are really doing is telling her, "Your comfort is more important than my integrity." This is the beginning of the end. To avoid this trap, you need to understand something essential about feminine psychology. Women are not evil creatures trying to destroy you. They are not sitting down thinking, "How can I make this man weak?" In many cases, their tests are not even conscious. What happens is that women, at a deep biological and emotional level, are scanning for signals of strength, consistency, and self-respect. They push a little here, they push a little there, and they observe your reaction, not always as a game, but as an instinct. They want to know, can this man stay grounded in himself when I am not in a good mood? Can he maintain his direction when I am emotional? Is he stable, or do I have the power to derail him easily? When you answer those tests with calm strength, their respect grows. When you answer them with panic, overreaction, or self-betrayal, their respect collapses. So let's name that exact moment again in different words, so your subconscious understands it deeply. She stops respecting you the moment she sees that you value her temporary approval more than you value your own long-term self-respect. The moment she sees that you would rather lie to yourself to keep the peace than tell the uncomfortable truth and risk conflict. That is the instant. That is the microsecond where her body says, "He is not my rock. He is my emotional employee." Now, why do you go there? Why do you abandon yourself so fast? It is not just because of her. It is because of what you carry inside. Fear, scarcity, emotional hunger, unresolved wounds. If you grew up trying to earn love by being the good boy, if you experienced rejection or abandonment and never healed it, then your nervous system learned that conflict equals danger. So the moment a woman raises her voice, shows disappointment, pulls away or becomes cold, your body interprets it as life-threatening. And then you do anything you can to make that sensation disappear. You promise more than you want to give. You accept things you do not like. You swallow your truth. You bend your spine emotionally. You confuse submission with love. Add social conditioning to that. You have been told that if a woman is upset, it is automatically your fault. You must fix her feelings immediately. And the worst sin you can commit is to say or do something that makes her uncomfortable. So you enter any interaction already guilty, already apologizing for existing, already editing yourself, already calculating what you can or cannot say, so she does not see you as a bad man. That level of fear is exactly what kills her respect, because she does not want a lifeless, neutered man who is terrified of his own power. She wants a man who knows he has power and chooses to use it with integrity, not a man who pretends he has none so nobody ever gets upset. From a psychological and even stoic perspective, the problem is that your internal reference point is external. You do not ask, "Is this aligned with who I want to be as a man?" You ask, "Will she like me if I do this?" Your main compass is not your values but her reaction. And when your compass is her reaction, you are lost. Because her reactions will change with her mood, with her hormones, with her past, with her stress, with 1,000 variables that you cannot control. If you build your self-respect on those unstable foundations, you will live unstable. And unstable men cannot generate stable respect. So how do you avoid reaching that critical point where her respect disappears? You do it by doing something that sounds simple but is rare. You decide who you are in advance. You define your standards before you are tested. You make an agreement with yourself that says, "There are certain lines I will not cross." even if I lose someone because of it. You decide what kind of behavior you will accept in your life and what you will not. You decide how much availability you are willing to give. You decide how you want to be spoken to. You decide how you will react when someone raises their voice at you, when someone lies to you, when someone tries to play with your time and your attention. You decide that before you are in the heat of the moment. Because in the heat of the moment, when she is angry, when she is crying, when she is ignoring you or provoking you, your nervous system is not in wise man mode. It is in survival mode. And in survival mode, you will always go back to your deepest programming. If your deepest programming says, abandon yourself so they do not leave you, then that is what you will do. So your job, as a man, is to reprogram that. To train your nervous system to stay grounded while someone else is emotional. To train yourself to be able to feel anxiety in your chest and still do what you know is right for you. To train yourself to tolerate feminine displeasure without immediately rushing to fix it with self-betrayal. There is a sentence that reveals exactly how much you respect yourself in those moments. It is a simple sentence, but it is like a mirror. The sentence is, I understand how you feel, but this is where I stand. Read it again in your mind. I understand how you feel, but this is where I stand. That is the energy of a man who can listen to a woman's emotions without becoming her emotional employee. You acknowledge her reality, but you do not abandon yours. You do not have to use that exact phrase every time, but you need that energy. The energy that says, your feelings matter, and my boundaries matter. Both exist. I will not erase myself to keep you calm. Imagine how different your life would be if every time you felt the impulse to surrender your standards, you paused for a second and asked yourself, if I say yes now, am I saying no to myself? If I stay here, am I abandoning something important to me? If I accept this, am I training her to treat me worse? That short pause is where your power lives. That pause is where respect is either built or destroyed. Because the moment you answer those questions honestly and still choose to betray yourself, you are literally telling your nervous system, my word to myself is irrelevant. And if your own word to yourself is irrelevant, why would hers respect you? Now let's go into ways to embody this in practice, so it becomes part of your behavior and not just an idea in your head. First, you need to build respect for yourself in areas that have nothing to do with women. This is fundamental. Respect is not something you turn on only in relationships. It is something you practice with yourself daily. When you say you will wake up at a certain time and you actually do it, you are teaching your nervous system that your word matters. When you commit to training your body, improving your finances, pursuing your purpose, and you follow through, you are telling yourself, I can trust me. That inner trust creates an energy that women feel, even if you say nothing. On the other hand, if you constantly break promises to yourself, if you escape into instant gratification, if you avoid discomfort in your own life, then in a moment of emotional pressure with a woman, you will collapse. Because you have trained yourself to choose comfort over integrity. That is why a man who is disciplined in his own life has an advantage. He is used to saying no to his impulses. He is used to sitting with discomfort. So when a woman gets upset, his first impulse may be to please, to submit, to escape conflict, but he knows how to breathe through discomfort and stay aligned with his decision. Second, you must learn the art of calm, brief communication. Many men lose respect not because of what they say, but because of how they say it, in a reactive, needy, or desperate way. When you send 10 long messages explaining yourself, when you demand constant reassurance, when you beg for her to see how good you are putting yourself in the position of a child asking for approval from an authority figure. That is not the energy of a man a woman deeply respects. A man who respects himself chooses his words carefully. He does not need to respond to every provocation. He does not use messages to negotiate his worth. When there is conflict, he can express himself in short, firm sentences. Something like, I do not like being spoken to in that tone. If it continues, I am out. Or, I understand you are upset, but yelling is not acceptable to me. Or, I had plans tonight. I am not canceling them last minute, but I would like to see you another day. Notice that these examples are not aggressive. They are not insults. They are not emotional attacks. They are simple expressions of standards. And here is what happens in her nervous system when she hears that kind of communication. Part of her may get triggered. Part of her may be annoyed that she cannot control you. But another part of her will feel safe, because she realizes, this man is not a boy. He is not here to be my emotional puppet. He has a spine. Third, you need to understand the difference between consequences and punishment. Many men either tolerate everything or explode in anger. They do not know how to live in the middle, where healthy masculinity resides. Tolerating everything kills respect. Exploding and insulting also kills respect. The path is consequences. A consequence is not revenge. It is not drama. It is simply a change in your behavior that reflects the reality of how you are being treated. If she constantly cancels plans last minute, the consequence is that you stop prioritizing her in your schedule. If she disappears for days and comes back like nothing happened, the consequence is that you do not immediately give her the same level of access to you. If she raises her voice or insults you, the consequence can be ending the conversation and leaving. When you apply consequences consistently, you are teaching her that your presence has value, and that mistreating you has a cost. You are not saying, "You are a bad person." You are saying, "I am not available for this." That sentence alone, "I am not available for this," can change your entire life if you live by it. Because it tells the world and yourself that your time, your energy, and your heart are not open to everything. They are reserved for people who know how to treat you. Fourth, you need to live a mission-centered life. When a woman feels that she is your entire world, that you have nothing else going on, that your happiness depends 100% on her, she feels pressure and she loses respect. Why? Because she senses that you have abandoned your masculine path. A healthy masculine man has a mission that is bigger than any relationship. It might be your career, your craft, your purpose, your growth, your contribution. When you live from that place, your energy with women changes completely. You still love, you still care, you still show up fully, but you do not lose yourself. If a woman threatens to leave you, if you keep pursuing your mission, the answer is simple: you keep pursuing your mission. Not because she does not matter, but because you know that if you betray your purpose to keep a relationship, you will end up resenting her and yourself. Ironically, when you are truly committed to your mission, most women respect you more. They may complain sometimes that you are busy, but at a deep level, they feel admiration. They know that your life has direction. They know that you are not available 24/7 to be their emotional entertainment. They feel that your time is valuable. And women tend to respect what is valuable and scarce, not what is always there regardless of how they behave. Fifth, you have to let go of the illusion that losing a woman is the worst thing that can happen to you. It is not. The worst thing that can happen to you is losing yourself. Many men tolerate disrespect, emotional chaos, and humiliation because they are terrified of being alone. They believe, if she leaves, I will never find someone like her again. That scarcity mentality makes you a slave. You will accept things that destroy you internally just to avoid the pain of loss. But listen to this. The man who is willing to lose someone rather than lose his self-respect is the man who is truly free. And freedom is attractive. When you internalize that, your energy changes. You no longer negotiate your dignity. You no longer sit in situations that are clearly bad for you. You no longer beg. You can feel the pain of separation and still look in the mirror without shame, because you know you did not betray yourself. And that kind of man, sooner or later, attracts women who resonate with that strength. Because you are not sending the energy of, "Please complete me." You are sending the energy of, "I am complete. Walk with me, or do not. But I will keep walking." Let's bring all of this together into one clear image for your mind. Imagine a line in the ground. On one side of the line is your self-respect, your standards, your truth, your mission, your emotional stability. On the other side of the line is the temporary comfort of keeping someone who may or may not value you. Every interaction with a woman, every conflict, every test, every moment of tension brings you close to that line. You feel the pressure. You feel the fear that if you stay on your side of the line, she might leave, get upset, pull away, criticize you, call you selfish or cold. Now, the exact moment she stops respecting you is the moment you cross the line toward her side and abandon everything that was behind you. You step over your own truth to stand next to her disapproval. You choose her comfort over your integrity. You choose her mood over your mission. You choose her approval over your word. And she sees it. Maybe not consciously, but she sees it. Her body feels that you walked away from yourself to walk toward her emotions. And in that moment, something in her cannot admire you in the same way anymore. Your work from now on is not to become perfect, not to never make mistakes, not to never feel fear. Your work is to train yourself to stay on your side of that line, to listen, to empathize, to care, but to stay. To be able to hold your position calmly when she tests you. To be able to say, "I see you, I hear you, but this is who I am. This is what I choose. This is what I will and will not allow." To be able to leave when staying would mean abandoning yourself. To be able to let go when holding on would mean destroying your own self-respect. As you start applying this in your life, you will notice two things. First, some women will fall away. They will not like that they cannot control you with their emotions. and that is good. Let them go. Second, the women who stay or come into your life will behave differently with you. They will complain less and respect more. They will test you less and trust more. They will feel safer around you because they know that you are not a man who disappears inside their emotions. You are a man who remains himself in the middle of any storm. Remember this line. Let it sink into your subconscious. The exact moment she stops respecting you is the moment you stop respecting yourself. You do not control her mind, her hormones, or her past, but you do control whether you betray your own standards. And from that point on, everything changes. From today, start watching yourself carefully in those key moments. Notice when your body wants to say yes, while your soul wants to say no. Notice when you are about to send a long message to justify yourself. Notice when you are tempted to tolerate something that feels wrong just to avoid conflict. In those moments, pause, breathe, and remember who you want to be as a man. Ask yourself, if I choose self-respect right now, what would I do? And then do that. Even if your voice shakes, even if your hands tremble, every time you do it, you are building a new identity, a man who does not cross his own line for anyone. When you become that man, respect is no longer something you chase. It is something you radiate. Women feel it when you walk into a room. They hear it in your voice. They see it in your decisions. And ironically, that is when you will experience the paradox that most men never understand. The less you are willing to betray yourself for a woman, the more a high-quality woman is willing to follow your lead, trust you, and give you the admiration you always wanted, because she can finally feel that you are a man who will not collapse under the weight of her emotions. That is the man you are building now with every decision you make after this video.